Good morning, Sri Lanka. Welcome to the show. You're here with me, Amaya, on a bright Wednesday morning. It is the 6th of November 2013, the middle of the week, and I'm sure that all of you are up and ready. You're getting ready for the day ahead, and once you go and sit in front of your computer and you open up your email account, you'll probably get an influx of emails coming to you from all over the world, because that's the kind of society we live in now, where there is so much connection going on, so much interaction that's happening online. But the etiquette that we have to follow along these terms then becomes different to when you have a face-to-face conversation with anybody. So how do you behave on a medium where facial expressions as well as body language can't be interpreted? So to answer that question, we have with us our resident etiquette guru, Mrs. Nidra Vikramasinghe, who is the founder as well as the director of Nadisa Finishing School. Welcome back to the show, ma'am. You've been here with us before as well, but yes. A very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Amaya. Thank you so much. I always look forward to coming here and interacting with such lovely young presenters, and you are so full of life and vivacity, and I too look forward for the day.
And it's great to have you here as well, a very elegant lady to have on our show every morning.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So going from that to what netiquette is.
Yes.
Now this is an abbreviated term, so let me ask you the definition, or your definition for netiquette.
Yeah, it's not actually abbreviated. This word has been coined to say it's etiquette online, or online etiquette.
Okay.
So that is the word etiquette is. Another approach, example, a good example for etiquette is, I would say it's a playful approach for good conduct when you're online. Right?
Okay.
And remember that the business etiquette for communication, for electronic communication, is evolving very, very rapidly. Those days it was the web, then it became the email, then now with all the social networking media, it's so much for anybody to keep in mind. But bottom line is that whatever that you send, netiquette or internet or Twitter or even Facebook, that it is all public. Nothing is confidential. That you must keep in mind. Such things that go, you on Facebook for instance, remember that it is like on your face, everybody know your status updates, right? But when it is etiquette, there's always, it has, the advantages are, some time ago, even before you were born, Amana, when in offices, they had a lot of paperwork to do. The internal memos was a part and parcel of daily correspondence between colleagues, right?
Okay.
Now, a thing like internet, beg your pardon, etiquette, or rather email, has actually eliminated that aspect of them. So it saves time, it saves money, printing costs, so on and so forth. Another thing about it's very fast. It's like you transmit data very, very rapidly. So if you do send a certain thing, a matter, proposal or suggestion, the chances are that they get, they agree on it, it gets approved, and the authorization comes fast. But as much as it is so efficient, in the cyberspace, you have the disadvantages as well. It can be misused, and accidents, and like sometimes you send it to some person that is not meant for. So these things happen.
Once you press that send button, there's no going back, is there?
And once you send an email to anyone, you must remember that we have no control over that. That's it. That is gone, and period. And there's no way of retrieving it at all.
And
yes,
now on that note, I think we should elaborate more on email etiquette, because email is something that everyone is using nowadays, but I don't think many people are aware of the unwritten rules and regulations that are there when it comes to emailing.
Right.
Now, when it comes to replying to an email, sometimes I find that I've sent an email and I'm waiting for days at a stretch for someone to reply, but the reply just doesn't come. So what's the appropriate time within which you should definitely reply to all of your emails, especially official ones?
Yes, official ones actually, it's instant. It doesn't take long, provided that you have the time. There are certain people who have allocates a certain period of the day. I would say do not keep it for late evenings when you're really tired, because sometimes you do not know which button you will see. That's the time that it might go to the wrong person. So I would say your email checking must be done a good, like early morning, or the time that you have to allocate a time for yourself.
Yes.
But when you're fresh, when you're alert, and your faculties are all, clear, right? So that way you can't make mistakes, right? Now, like say, I'm also a trainer. Sometimes I go for a meeting and I come back and I'm set to send a proposal. The proposal might take a couple of days. In the meantime, I come back to my office and I can send a little email saying thank you so much for the meeting I have had, and we shall be in touch soon, and we'll forward the proposal in due course. So those things are, a way. Now, see,
the follow-up.
Follow-up.
Yes.
Now, see, you tell me that sometimes you wait for weeks and weeks and you don't get any emails. So that's really bad on the part of the person, who was supposed to send you.
But what you're saying is, what I can do is then follow it up and say, we spoke about such and such a subject, so let's correspond a bit
and
more
also
about
sometimes, like payments, that when people delayed make payment, then you can write the subject, a gentle reminder.
A gentle reminder.
So that, it's a very polite way of
Definitely.
asking, right? And something else also that people forget about etiquette is the salutations that they should use, as well as the sign off. Right, now this is where lots of us tend to, it's very quick and fast, isn't it? Emails, it's very quick. It can be a bit tiring also sitting and replying so many emails, right? Now it's a very nice way to keep in touch, to show your professionalism, but it is informal, certainly not as formal as a letter.
Definitely.
Right? Now there are certain things about salutation. You must always start a letter with a formal greeting. Like say, if it's your boss, superiors, clients, senior management, dear. Now in Sri Lanka we use the prefixes Mr. We are very formal in nothing. Although a lot of organizations call them by their first name. So you say dear Lal, or dear Lal, or you can drop the dear and just Lal. Okay, so that is a formal greeting.
Yes.
Not a formal greeting, but a courteous greeting. You start it. Then how you should end the sign off always. You can use the word yours sincerely, or you can use with best wishes, warm regards.
Okay.
Again, it's a very nice and a courteous way to end the note. A very warm and courteous way to end the note. Right? Now that is it formatted. Now when it comes like among colleagues, now you'll be on, now say you have another friend, and within or between colleagues, the emails, replies will be flying forth and back, isn't it? Back and forth, up and down, and that is expected. So each time you can't use the prefixes or the formal greeting. Then you use your common sense. Right? Say like if you all are going to having about exchanging ideas, and it's going to be your work pattern. The first email for the day, Amaya, it should be, you have to start. You can say good morning Sam, or you can say dear Jason.
Okay.
And that's how you start your email, right? So then you can, after a couple of days, then after that you can drop the salutations, get on with it.
It's just ongoing communication.
But at the bottom, don't forget a little thanks. There you can use the abbreviated word TKS, TA, bye, and whatever your initials, A
BR,
or whatever.
for best regards.
Yes, things like that.
Yes.
So you see, so that is guided.
Okay. And I've always had this question where you're not sure of the gender of the person you're addressing, but you don't know the name as well. So there's the dear sir / madam coming in. Is that appropriate? I've always wondered this, and I wanted to ask this question.
Do you know that sometimes, few years, even you were born, I think, Amaya, the names were very easy to relate to. They were very, they were standard names, right?
Okay.
If I tell you those names, it will show my, so I'm not going to tell you what those names are. But right now, it's surprising, most of the names, females and males, names are the same. And it's a real big problem.
Yes,
it is really big problems, and you cannot call a lady, you have to be very careful, because sometimes when the gender specific people can offend that, and it also show your lack of professionalism. So depending as to whom you write, you must actually, depending on the importance of the person, sorry to say, you can give a call to that person's secretary or somebody. Okay. This depending on the seniority as well.
Yes,
and just check and ask, may I know, please, may I know Amantha, And you can't go to us with Mr. or Mrs. You have to ask a question so discreetly so that you get it properly. And the way you question, it comes up. But other than that, if you have the time, you can check everybody. Otherwise, I just put sir/madam. It is very, very difficult otherwise. It is difficult, you know.
So that's one of my questions answered, something that I really wanted to know. But we'll be asking her many more questions as well, especially about social media. That's something that has come up in the recent years as well, which is very important to know the etiquette when you're interacting online. But all that is coming up right after the break. So do stay with us here on Good Morning Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, welcome back to the show. Now, netiquette is what today's show is all about. Later on in the show, of course, Jason and Anupama will be speaking to another very special guest. But right now with me, I have Needra Vikramasinghe. Good morning, welcome back to the show, ma'am. And we were speaking about email etiquette before we went for the very short break. But
that's right.
I have to ask you now, sometimes when I receive an email, you know, I think it's very confidential and no one else can see, no third party can see, but that's not really the case, is it?
No, no, Amaya. Actually, email is not confidential at all, right? Now, because of that, you must remember, never send sensitive information out, right? It could be your personal data, it could be your business plans, training proposals, sales figures, all those things that are very sensitive and confidential, you should never send it via email, right? Because it's not confidential, right? Then the other one is, it's not private, because whatever that you send actually can be intercepted. There are ways and mechanisms that people intercept your thing accidentally or intentionally and send to some certain recipients without your acknowledgement and consent, right?
I see.
Yeah. And the other one is privacy. So you're working in an organization, say, you know, we're just assuming, and you have your email and contact people other than your work. And now you must always remember that there is no privacy at all. The email that you compose, that you send, and that you receive is all actually is owned by your employer, because your employer is paying for you, paying for your time, and paying for your work. So at any time they can have access to your emails. So yeah, that is their thing. Just like for the web surfing, even in offices, you know. So when we touch on the web surfing, I will, you know, tell you more about the privacy in those sites and how the officers and places like that, they monitor, because sometimes workers tend to you know, private things, which is totally against.
I see.
Those are the things.
When you're sending emails back and forth, sometimes the subject lines or the titles of the emails, you find that people don't really correspond with what, it's not relevant to what the content of the email is. So how can you really formulate a cohesive subject for your email?
So that I could get your...
A title for the email. Now sometimes... they don't really connect to each other, the content of the email as well as the title.
So that's very good. I mean, like, if you have the entire... what you have to do is to find out what the whole thing is about. If the email is for a request of a certain favor, then you put on top, you know, request dash regarding whatever, so that they will know what it is. So you got to take actually the subject matter. Now if you write to somebody, it has to be on a certain topic, isn't it? So you got to just take that and you put it on top, and then it's so relevant, and they will know it in your inbox and they will reply.
And what's the ideal length for an email?
Well,
it depends on the subject, I'm sure, but should it be very short, or what's the...
Now the thing is,